to the trip. It is Monday after, I guess, what some people will probably call Michael Oliver weekend. But we're here. We made it, and we'll get into that and then some. But before we go, I got Mr. Tony Turner. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Don't complaining too much. If I
Cool.
did, if I did, nobody would listen anyway. So
We're listening. It's probably going to tell us what you told us the last couple of years, though. You know, yeah.
I,
You haven't said anything new. Let's just try that, which is good. I think new would be bad.
do you want the new part of it?
Oh no, we don't want the new part. All right, tell me that later. Tell me that later. We got Tiger and Guna was here about an hour, about 90 minutes ago, waiting for us. Well, we're here. Hopefully, you make it back. Got Steven in the house. Welcome to the show. You got Miss Melina. Here you go. Yeah, Steven's put a bad comment out there. Yeah, I'm not going to read it, but you guys can read it if you want. He basically said, Michael Oliver, you know where to go. Cheating pile of crap. Arsenal won. Oliver nil. Yeah, that's what a lot of people think. That's what a lot of people believe, and that's kind of how it played out. I don't usually delete comments that have rude language or flowerful language. I call it flowerful language. I don't usually I don't
Flowerful.
flowerful. Yes, it's like colorful. It's colorful. Yes,
I've heard of
yes.
a colorful before, but
Yeah, but
flowerful.
it's flowerful is where that comes from. Before we continue on with the comments, I'm going to say hi to our last our other guest, our other host. Spencer's in the house.
Contestant
How you doing,
number
Spencer?
three.
Hey, leave. You don't have to interrupt his intro. Shut it,
Oh,
Spencer. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good. Happy Monday.
Yeah, and you got a kind of interesting shirt there. I don't know what that's for. Is that
The shirt says VAR ruined my weekend.
Yes. Yeah. It tried to though. It tried to this weekend.
Of course.
It didn't. It didn't. It wasn't able to. You know what? This is one of those where we're like, you know what? You can't let the refs beat you, right? We made sure that somehow, some way. So we did. Let me go through the rest of the chat and then we'll get into some football. The Geeks of Muckleby, welcome to the show. I think you're new for me, at least. Yes, but definitely share and subscribe and follow all of our friends. Got Brenny in the house. Welcome to the show, Brenny. Looks like you and Geeks of Muckleby are friends. Welcome to the show. Got Mr. Tom in the house. Yeah, you know, I always about to say Mr. Tony, and sometimes I catch myself, and sometimes I just let it go. But you know,
I get
yeah,
called Mr. Tony at least once a week by someone.
yeah,
Some Southern Baptist always calls me Mr. Tony.
yeah. You're definitely not a mister. I don't know why that's coming from, but we'll get into that later. Got Rosie in the house. Welcome to the show, Rosie. Yeah, yeah. I've been a little. I was ill pretty much last week. I felt like crap. Lucky I had a day off, and then I actually took 2 more days off. But yeah, feeling much better now. I can actually watch a show, and I can actually now it looks like be in a show. Yeah. Geeks. Oh, he's in the WhatsApp group. All right, cool. You know what? That name and it might be all numbers in the WhatsApp group. So you know, I'm not gonna know the difference. I don't know people's names just yet. Oh, okay. See what I mean? All right, Nick. Welcome to the show. Yeah, I know Nick. All right, cool. All right. Went through all the intros. Found out Tony's got a new element on him coming his way. The man just can't. He's like, you know what? He's like, you know what? I missed a spot on my bingo card, so here we go. But we'll get into that later. Tiger and Guna did join us eventually. Thanks for joining us. I know you were here about 90 minutes ago, but you're here now. All right, cool. So let's get into it. I've been looking at some things, and Tony has been. I talked with Tony a little bit before the show started, and I don't know how we want to go about this. Do you guys want to talk about the game, the ref, or
I get tired of talking about refs.
Yeah, Spencer, what did you say? I didn't catch you.
I said it's your universe, Gary.
It
However
is
you
my
wanna do it.
universe. So here we go. This is I looked this stat up because I was like, you know what? We talk about every game. We talk about here we go. This is the Kai Havertz. I don't want to call it a bashing. I'm just going to say these are some interesting stats. You know when he scores, how many times we lose? None. When he scores, we don't lose. He don't score much. 13 goals is enough, but it ain't enough. You know what I mean? Nobody's backing him up when he doesn't score. But definitely when he doesn't score, and that's I think he's scored in about 8 games for us. We've drawn 2 of them. He's played a lot of games. He's played a lot of games for us. But when he doesn't contribute with a goal or assist, he's contributed 1 assist when we haven't won. You know, they always say you contribute even when you don't score, right? But he only given us 1 assist when he don't score. We've lost what? And for me, what it says is we don't have. Reason why we need a striker is because we need somebody else. He can't do it by himself, right? But when he does score, we win. We win. We win 3 out of 4 games, and we don't lose. So I don't know. The stats are there. That's what they say. I don't know. All it says to me is if we don't get a striker and he doesn't score, you know, we're losing probably about 25% of our games from here on out. Because nobody else contributes from that center position. And right now, if it's not Kai, I don't know who it is. If it's Trossard going in there, or Kai will have to play it out, and I don't think he can do that either. So Spencer, talk to me. Kai.
What about it? I mean, I don't know what your point was. I mean, are you asking for them to sign a player? Are you saying Kai's trash, or I mean, what are you saying? Because I mean,
all of the above, essentially.
Well,
yeah.
he averages. He's second on the team in goals and assists per average game behind Saka.
Yeah.
So who else is not stepping up? If you're gonna get on him,
so well, maybe that's where we go with it. But that's the stat. Yeah.
To me, that's the reality. The reality is, you know, Martinelli doesn't do enough. Trossard is hit or miss when he starts. I mean, Kai's work rate is. Have you watched him?
I watched him, but I see it.
I mean, sure, he's finishing.
You know what you say work rate, and then I go, all right. So then the 4 or 5 shots that he's had in each of the last 3 games,
his jobs are more than that.
He is a center forward for us. I'm very sorry about that. If I told you, Saliba, guess what? You're a center back for me. Guess what? You can do all. Sorry, Gabriel. You can head all these goals for us. But when it comes down to shutting down an attacker coming at the goal, you're all right at it. You do a lot of work. You do running around and stuff. But when it comes down to it, I need you to shut down that attacker, and they don't get it, and you don't perform. That's okay, because you know what? You score goals with your head.
Did you see how many miles I think he's ran compared to the rest of the league? And 4 of the 5 on there are midfielders, and he's a forward making all them runs. I'm just saying, like, if you want to look at it from finishing, sure, we can critique that. But all the other stuff he does.
That's got to be part of the equation. We can't just go, he runs a lot, so that's all right. But
Never
when he
said
doesn't
that he
finish,
runs a lot.
No, you just said he puts in a lot of distance on his feet.
But hold on, Gary. It's more than just putting the ball in the back of that. There's other things that have to complement that also. 100%.
Do you see where he's missing from?
I do see.
Are you telling me
that?
So then that's part of the equation to this.
Did you hear me not say that he hasn't been good enough in front of goal? I said that.
All right, so that's the negative that I have. I you know what? We said this about Lacazette, right? He does a lot of running around. He does support the midfield, supports the back line. But at the end of the day, if you don't contribute up top, we're in trouble, and that's what happens. We're in trouble when we don't get the contributions on the side of the ball where you're supposed to also contribute the most, right?
When he was played solidly, he got 17 goals. It's
What does that
for,
mean
for,
solidly? What do you think he's doing now? Has he been playing anywhere but
no,
center forward right now?
I was talking about Lacazette, sir.
All right. When he was playing solidly, he scored a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, because you have to have that constant or very frequent starting. You can't play one game, be off 3 games.
So that
Like that one,
doesn't. So what is
like
it?
for one season, he started his season with 3 goals, then he benches him. If you're scoring 3 goals, you're staying on the field until you fuck up pretty bad for me.
All right.
I
We're
mean,
talking about an old time now, but Kai
but
pretty much
Kai,
starts every game. So
Kai,
continuity in games isn't the issue.
Kai had two of them right on the platter from Trossard, and he didn't do anything with them. It should have went straight to the back of the net.
I
Instead,
mean,
he kicked it.
Trossard has put in a decent amount of assists over the last number of weeks. Like I said, I believe Spencer and I are on the agreement. I'd rather have him come off the bench. I don't think he can give us the starts that we want, at least the way we are set up right now. This is like, after a season where he's coming off the bench and contributing, and then he can run through the end of the season. Yeah, but where we are now, where all these games are stressful, I don't think he can give it to us the way we want. He's been, like I said, in the last game, he contributed a lot with what they call scoring opportunities. Yeah, but is he going to score? Most of the time, it doesn't seem like it. Yeah, nah, that's a stat that I found. I just, and part of it is Kai, part of it is our Arsenal. I'm going to say Arteta, but Arsenal doesn't get another striker. I mean, Jesus scores, we win, right? He scored twice while he was around. We won both games.
When Jesus is around,
That's what I just said. That's what I said. So
but
availability is
again,
the
hold
first
on
part.
here, because you got Saka out, you've got Jesus out. What's one of the big things that Havertz has been? He's available every game. He's out there. That was one of the big issues. We talked about this last year, ability over availability. He's got 14 goals in all competitions. Is he missing some? Sure. We're not blind to that. But he's our second highest producer on this team behind Bukayo Saka. But we're talking about him, not talking about Trossard, not talking about Martinelli, not talking about Raheem Sterling.
You know why we do?
Where are you?
You know why I do that is because the same reason why when Saka isn't contributing, I'm going at some point you're going to have to be the man. And I say the same thing about Saka. All right. Saka, though, done it double the amount of times that
I still
Kai
think
has.
if it's a narrative, people didn't want Havertz, and this is the narrative. He's the easy target.
He's not. Is he a starter for any team in the Premier League?
Yes.
A top 6 team in the Premier League?
Probably, yeah. You don't think you get United side right now?
I don't. Well, top 6 in terms of table. I don't think they're a big 6, but they're not a top 6 side. So a top 6 side that's trying to go for Europe. I don't think he's there. Big 6, yeah, that's a different story because that team isn't a big 6, and they're not even. They're in 15th place or whatever. So
I don't believe he would be starting.
Well, I agree to disagree on that one. I think the stats say it otherwise.
But
he's missing. Don't get me wrong, he's missing shots, but I get it. But we're only seeing to hold him accountable. Nobody's out here slagging off Raheem Sterling. Nobody's
talking. We've been wanting to replace Martinelli and Trossard for the last 2 seasons. A lot of people.
It doesn't look like we're going to replace anybody this window.
And that's the problem, right? So I can only complain about those that are putting themselves in situations to succeed and they're failing. That's all I could do. Because if you told me all this running around that he's doing, and I told you, look, can you take 25% of that off and put some of that into the scoring, please? I wouldn't care that he gave me less on his running around and all that stuff. Because guess what? We would have a goal or 2 up. And guess what? That makes it a little bit easier to defend and all those types of things because, right, when we score first, we don't lose, right? When we score twice, we barely ever draw. But I just feel like, don't those numbers mean something, I believe. If we come out the game hot, like if he comes out hot, head on fire, puts that ball in the net, guess what happens for the rest of the game? We're looking really good the way we play. All right.
He genuinely should have had a hat trick in the first half because he got the deliveries to him.
So
But as far as starting for a top six, you can see that for 6 months he did basically nothing in the midfield. Jesus gets into, he finally gets to play striker. So he wasn't a first choice, wasn't a second choice. He was about my third choice to be up there.
I mean, it's a narrative for me. I mean, yeah, he's missing shot opportunities, sure. I mean, no one's denying that. But it's, to me, it's the easy button. Didn't like him when he came in, and when things aren't going well, he's the blame person. But let's be fair here, all right? Let's put some perspective on this. You are in second place on the table with no true number 9. That in itself is impressive. Your best player's out in Bukayo Saka. Jesus is out. You got Nweri back right now. I mean, we talk about style of play as well, but Arsenal's striker barely plays in the box. Just watch him in the game and watch where his field positioning is and where Arteta has the 9 playing. Sometimes they're back there by the 6 doing hold up play. Most of our attack comes through the wings anyway, and then we do service in the middle of the box.
when we had those 2 games of brilliance from Jesus, guess what he does? Yeah, he does contribute to the middle in support, but guess where he is? Not sooner after that. He's back in the middle. You know, and if that's because that's what we saw when we first saw Jesus, right? Yeah, he contributed and helped with the buildup from the midfield. But guess where he was after that ball started moving forward? He was back in the middle, either coming in late or even beating everybody there. So for me, if that's what we need based on the way we play, you know, that's what we should be looking for. Kai doesn't offer that.
He's a 10. That's what he is.
He's never going to get in the box, right? So
he's a 10 who's playing a 9.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. No, I get you, but all I'm going to say is, if I'm looking at his numbers and I'm going, yeah, he runs around. I don't want. He shouldn't last 90 minutes for a game in my football, because in 60, 70 minutes he would have scored for me at least once or twice, based on the amount of creation that is made for him. You know, so like, it's almost as if we spread ourselves out. Let's try to make this 90-minute game, when in reality, nah. You're in front of that goal. The only thing that matters is that ball goes in the net. You know, that's the only thing that matters. You put everything you got into it, and you make sure that ball gets in the net, because that's what you do. All right. He does that. I tell you, it looks different. And maybe he doesn't play 90 minutes because he doesn't have to, because he's put in the work. That's kind of how I see it, anyways.
But we've got no one else right now.
But with that, Gary,
if he scored 2 goals in a game, he's coming out. We're fine to put on a defender and shut it down. We're never in that position because he's already missed all the chances. All right.
Well, we were in a position last weekend, and we were up 2-0. And what did Arteta do then? Didn't bring anybody on, and we blew a 2-0 lead.
That's on the coach, right?
Again, yeah.
And we still had chances to score late in that game, because guess what happened? When we turned it off, and we let them back into the game, guess what? We turn it right back on when it was 2-2, and we put pressure on them. So for me, it's a mental thing. It's definitely always there.
No, I'm Kaiser's had a hat trick there, but the main thing is, Arteta doesn't seem to know what a number 9 is, or wants a number 9, because they're back. We used to call Lacazette a false 8 because he was back behind where the 8 would play. He would be where your defensive midfielder would be, and you're a striker. it's not a coincidence. He goes back to France and he scores 33 goals because he's used as a number 9, not some weird fucking hybrid.
Well, we know that's not
I,
going to happen. We know that's not going to happen with Arteta, right? So
I'm just so tired of all this hybrid
that's
shit.
what he wants.
But
The only problem is
we,
he's not getting the right players to fit his system. That's what
we,
he
we,
wants. He's not doing. That's then we always can bring it back to the recruitment, right? Got BX Gunner in the house. Welcome to the show, BX. Go ahead, Tony.
we played two teams in a row that used a back three, and they were able to get at us because of the speed of their wing backs. I think we had the wing backs. You have a guy that we used to have on the team. He has this weird release clause thing. I buy option, whatever it is, it's very weird and convoluted, which I think we won't be getting him back, and Arteta probably doesn't want him back, even though he's a lead assist guy in Europe. But it just Arteta needs to play the players in their correct positions. Ty is in the 9. You could easily have him and Odegaard right behind the striker, and things would be a lot better. But instead, he persists with these weird formations and weird players, and it doesn't work. But at the end of the day, Kai should have scored because just Pritchard delivered 2 of them right platter, just right in front of him. All you had to do was connect straight with the ball, and it would have been with the net. But what I see with Tassard or with Havertz is he doesn't kick it with a lot of power, and he almost always kicks it straight forward into a goalie's hands. He does that a lot, especially this last game.
I'll say we most strikers and most attackers seem to just kick the ball. They don't have position. They don't have the accuracy to pick a spot away from the goalkeeper. Like goalkeeper never moves. You see it so many times. I wish it was just I wish that was a Kai issue, but you know how many shots on target, and how many times the goalkeeper just catches the ball, picks it up. You know, so I think that's a situation for most attackers in all of football. You see it too many times. Like nobody picks a corner, goes near post. They just kind of kick it, as you say. If the ball's sitting, 3 feet in from the post, guess where it's going? 3 feet in from the post. They have either a near post they can go for, they can go to far post. Nah.
And that's what happened to Staka this year. He finally was like, I'm going to kick it here, and it said go in. He had that mentality, and he started scoring goals.
The one thing that he's done that a lot of the other teammates are not doing is he's improved gradually every year. This would have been the 4th year in a row that he's the stats are saying that he's still improved, right? But in reality, he's been the one that's been improving, and been getting more and more out of him. Not as many goals this season, but I think that was going to kick in as things picked up if he was healthy. But yeah. No, I was hoping that we would get the same from Erdogan, definitely from Trossard, or definitely from Martinelli. Trossard, I kind of felt like still was a role player for us. He was our version of Jota. I say that all the time, but that's what I really believe. There is a comment here. Tony, go and get one player. Who do you get?
I never care that much about the names.
Go and get one player. Tell me who it is. You only get one. We can't sit here and
going.
complain about Kai and then
I,
go, we don't. I don't think there's anybody that either can improve on him or do
I,
better, or
I,
Martinelli can
I,
improve on him or do better.
I go for Mr. Watkins.
You go for Mr. Watkins. All right. I mean, that is an achievable player to get if Duran doesn't leave, right? I mean, we've seen him play. I mean, I just don't think defenders are going to run away from him off the back line like we've done. But yeah, I mean, he had the two missed chances against us, right? So we'll be complaining about him missing sitters. But he'll be in positions, and we'll see. Spencer, going to get one player. Who you getting?
Well, I don't know. For me, you're gonna have to go get someone, but I have to think about it a little bit harder because obviously, like the Evan Ferguson one is interesting. If you're talking about a potential loan, I mean, I just don't want them to blow money on someone that it's not going to be good enough. But hear me out, and I'll answer your question. If you're saying that the money's not an object and I can go get who I want, probably going to go get Yorkis out of yeah,
Gukares, is that what you're saying?
There we go. Yeah, I mean, ideally, if I could go get one, I'd look at the Premier League, and I would probably go look at a guy like a Mateta or something, someone that's already proven in the league. That would be ideal, but again, it's hard because you either have to super overpay, or because people don't they don't know if they're going to get relegated or not. Like Wolves, they're not going to let Kuna go. Are you kidding me? They're in the 18th right now. So, I mean, that would be something. I'd look within the league, and you got to find someone who's. We're looking at realistic here. It's probably somewhere like the Sesko one's not going to happen. The Ollie Watkins one's nice. I just think that's probably a summer move. Because they still got ambition in Europe too. So, if Duran goes down, who's going to replace him, right? So, like, we left ourselves a little bit short. But I guess you didn't expect some of the injuries we had. Last year was super, super healthy, and this year, just kind of unfortunate. So I don't know. But again, if they're going after this kid from Rossburg, and of course they're talking about I have horrible names, the midfielder in the summer, they're already telling you they've kind of kicked the can down the road.
Yeah, well, that's why I hated the fact that they brought that up so soon.
Yeah,
that was like one weekend to the window, I believe. When you're doing that, and when you're doing that, and not only doing that, you're doing that after your team has struggled, and then you lose your best player. You've lost your second best player for a bit. Then you lose your second striker. You're like, come on, dude, are you serious? Like, if you're not gonna make a move in this January, then all bets are off for us ever making a January move again. Because this is the only time it makes more sense to put a little bit extra down and get a player that you want, and maybe you got to pay a little bit extra for it. If it's not now, then it'll never be, because they'll, you know what I mean? Like, we can't. How many players are we supposed to lose before it makes it deemed necessary to bring somebody in? All right.
And Arteta's constantly saying he doesn't have enough players, which I think he gets plenty of support from the owners. So I think a lot of it's.
I don't know what that is. That doesn't even make any sense, what he's bringing up there. I mean, before you spoke, Spencer, I had Gukares in my head as far as who I would bring in. I mean, I just watched Sesko and Gukares play in the Champions League game. Both contributed with goals. Gukares comes off the bench, scores pretty much, So for me, I know that, if he starts or not start, he probably will contribute for us. Yeah, he just scores goals. You put him in the positions. Not sure about his work rate compared to a Kai. You know what I mean? Because that will make the difference. But I feel like if I told you he's going to give you 2 goals and he's going to be in those positions, then you probably might. I don't think he has to be as work had the same work ethic as a Kai, if he's going to give me the other end, because I know that Calafiori isn't as defensively sound as we would like on that left side, but he's always got a wonder goal in him. We've seen it now twice, right? We needed a goal, we got a goal from him. in games that we needed those goals. So I'd like to see him get healthy and be back into the form. But yeah, no, Gyökeres was the guy for me. I definitely would like to. I always said getting a player from the Premier League would be the easiest way to go. You don't have to worry about whether they know anything about the league, and you probably have coached against them, and they know a lot about what you're doing. But that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen in January unless they've got like 3 of that position, and nobody has 3 of an attacker on either side of anywhere on the pitch. So I think it'd be tough because all of them, wait until the summer. Just basically, you're trying to, it's almost like you're writing off the season. Right, because you're not giving us. So like we might finish second, but we never gave ourselves a chance to even compete to catch up to a Liverpool. We can't, like, based on where we are right now, we're not giving ourselves a good chance to do that. If we were healthy, yeah. If you have a Saka there, but we're competing, right? We know this. But you take Saka out, and then you don't bring anybody back in. So now you're down. Like what best player goes down, you don't replace him, and you still expect you can say a second is okay. Right.
There should be a winger available, but if you're having Saka come back in March and you go out now and buy number 9, it's feasible that you can track down Liverpool. But doing nothing basically says this year is a wash. We're not going to go for anything, and sign some players. Some don't make the cut. Like every year, there's 1 or 2 players that haven't been good enough. This year, Calafiori, don't think he's been good enough. But you definitely have to go find before and the winger, because if not, you're not going to progress and get up there. Even if you compete for the top spot, right now we're not making any ground, and I think you have to go get the players to gain that ground. Because at some point, doesn't it have to be we need to win now?
Well, I think it is. You finished second the last 2 seasons. It's not like, okay, we're going to be finishing second next season. Something, because we already went through all the craziness this season, and I don't know about you guys, but I feel like if we were able to bring in a striker this window, that would give us a really good chance.
Yep.
Right, a really good chance.
Because I know you said it earlier in the season. Like that's where the problem has been the last 2 summers or last 2 years. We haven't had a striker, so you have to go get a striker, and we didn't do that.
Yeah. You guys are giving up some good names here in terms of players we can bring in from teams I don't know much of. But yeah, no, I mean, I believe there are options for us, and if the talent level's there, we'll be all right. Tiger and Gouda, and I think a couple of people also are saying if we don't have a new striker by the City game, which is not going to happen, that we're going to lose. Quick question, and I'll bring that question up to you guys. Spencer.
Yeah.
Right now, we don't do any. We stay pat. We playing home against City.
You end up with a draw. The problem I have also is look at Champions League right now. 7 games played, 14 goals, 2 given up. People go say, "Oh, we can't win Champions League." Well, Europe's played a little differently, where we're not dealing with all these low blocks constantly. You get the right run, you just never know what could happen. And that's where I think the striker thing, everybody talks about Liverpool in the league, but I'm looking at stuff like that, man. Like, I like the league format in the Champions League. I think it's been really good, and it just feels like a potential missed opportunity. But I mean,
Well,
look, if they give you 200 million pounds as your little transfer kitty, whatever, because people put these stupid articles out. I mean, you're not going to get Isak from them in January. That's not happening. You could get them in the summer. But so what if they go and spend 140 on a striker? And that's the transfer budget for the. I mean, you just blew the transfer budget for the whole year.
If we don't spend anything in January, then we're right. I mean, we have supposedly we have I hear what you're saying. I don't know. I think I mean 140 is a lot for the man.
But,
I mean, but that shows ambition, I guess. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Until the new man comes in and doesn't play well enough, and then people are like, "Oh, we got to go buy another striker," and then we're doing this same song and dance again. And then claiming the club doesn't have ambition.
If we can't get Isak to play in our system, then that ain't on just a player anymore.
You gotta get him. You should have never let him go to Newcastle. That's the problem.
Well, that's a different story. They'd let a lot of even the best of the best have let the best go. I mean, should Palmer be playing for Chelsea right now? This is the most recent one, right?
You probably could have gotten Palmer if you hadn't have bought Jesus and Zinchenko from them when they were like,
nobody wanted to take that risk, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, hold on now. When was the last time a team to win the USL wasn't successful domestically? Is being second not successful? I mean, it's not good enough, but how's that not successful? Like, what are we doing here? What bar are we setting?
But that's what everything started.
Well, basically, wait a second. So when Chelsea won the UCL, do you remember where they were seated in the table?
I don't think they were. I think they were like 6th or 7th, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they were in Europe spots. I don't believe they were even in the European spots. So I don't. That is not true. Biggest Gunner.
I mean, we're talking about different leagues, though. We're talking about different leagues. I mean, yeah, you can go and Real Madrid's going to probably.
No, I'm talking about Chelsea in the Premier League. They won the Champions League.
They're different animals,
and they weren't. They were definitely not successful in the domestic league at that point. All right, they're going to lean on that anytime you talk to them. They won a Champions League. What did you do? Right?
Then
you scored the game winner for him too, though.
Then Gary, you had that team, which only finished.
They didn't win, so what's the point? Why are you bringing them up?
They went to a final.
That don't mean anything. We went to a Europa League final. Does that mean anything? No. We don't care about making it to the final, right? When we're talking about what we're talking about here, Spencer's talking about winning the Champions League, not just getting to the final.
Yeah, we got to win it, man. I think Europe fits up perfectly for our defense. I really do think it does.
The problem comes, and we just saw it last season, when you come up against a team that has knowledge to play football, and you can get outsmarted, and we got outsmarted because we played down to their level. We played to whatever they wanted to do. And we can't do that. We got to be able to play. We got to impose our football style on teams once in a while.
Started poorly at home too, and remember that game. Saka tried to dive for a penalty by putting the ball in the back of the net. So there's lessons learned all up and down the field, but all up and down the history of this. I mean, there's a lot of revisionist history on this stuff, and I mean, look, I wanted to go sign somebody. I just don't know. Everybody talked about having some rumor that they knew someone was coming. Well, that was 2 weeks ago, guys. And I got laughed at for questioning people's sources. And here we are, 1/27/2025, 8:10 p.m., 1:10 a.m. our UK friends. And nobody still came.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry I questioned it.
It's not looking good. And, will it happen really fast? I don't know. Because
I hope so.
If it's a release clause, it can happen really fast. But right now, it doesn't seem like we're paying any release clauses.
I mean, at the very least, Trossard will leave at the end of the year.
You don't know any of that stuff.
Yeah, yes, you do. They've already negotiated for his contract, and there's a good chance, just because Martinelli hasn't advanced enough chance of him being gone. I don't think you want too much more Sterling, because he doesn't have much.
That's an easy one. He just walks out the door. I mean, they don't there's no strings attached with him.
Yeah, but eventually you got to replace all these guys that are left, and that's why we're short because
That
we have
Aaron Heaven guy, I know once again another one of these. I won't re-sign with you, Arsenal. I'll go elsewhere. And I'm like, you talked about Cheeto Martin. Heaven, it's going to do the exact same thing. Or whoever is it Heaven? Whoever this another young player that we've got is happy to just walk out the door. And Arsenal's letting these players go, and we're seeing at least there are some talents that are there. So
yeah, but this is the first year you've seen any of the academy play before you didn't see them play it.
Over the last 3 summers, I believe we've seen them play because we saw a little bit a couple seasons ago, and we saw a lot more in the last season. So I would say it's been a 3-year period because if you think about it, that was 3 years ago. So it was where he got his whatever 5 minutes of fame kind of thing. So like if I'm looking at it like that and I'm going, you go from that to where we are now, where we can start in Wary and Skelly and not even worry, right? That's a lot of progress in a 3-year period for your academy. Whether or not you're doing those players right, and they're doing right by you as well. So
They could have did a lot better if they were playing them
in the
the
3-year period, that is really good. You're
competition.
not seeing that other places where we started from where we are right now. You look at the players that are coming from through the academy. Are they like Skelly level?
Are you telling me neither one could have started?
I'm telling
started
you,
last
tell
year?
me a player that hasn't gone through the process like Skelly and is at that level.
But he could have been playing for you last year.
Maybe he wasn't ready last year. And same thing with Saliba. We came in, he was ready to go. We didn't have to go. Guess what? Maybe Arteta likes that process. I don't want to bring you in if I got to wait for you to still get ready. I don't like when we brought in Erdogan and we had to wait for him for 6 months to figure it all out. All right, the next season he was ready to go.
It was actually the opposite there, Gary. He hit the ground running when the game. Then when we signed him, he struggled for 3 or 4 months.
He was ready to go when he was after the 6 months is kind of how I felt about it. So, I hear what you're saying. I didn't see it that way, but it's kind of how I felt about it. Yeah, the Ferguson player. I find it. He's got like one goal. I don't know if that brings much.
He's talking about Alex Ferguson.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Roman also always got his man because he was a Russian oligarch billionaire.
Yeah, when you just pay for your players, you don't have to be concerned about a lot of things. We definitely have to, but I think we also need to spend better. Like we spend a lot on our defense, nothing on our attacks, and we wonder why we lose games. We're not winning because of our our defense all the time. And now we're leaning on them so much now. They have to be perfect, and they're not perfect because they're not going to score headers every game. They're not going to score every game. They're not going to be perfect every game.
So Gary and Spencer, how do you feel if you're a Chelsea fan? You won 21 trophies. You have 2 years of chaos, and now you're back to being a top 4 team. So,
what's the question now?
But the question was: it worth spending all that money you did, having like 20 forwards at one point? But was it all worth it for the Champions League and Premier League titles that you won? 21 titles. Not bad.
So you're trying to, I don't know what the question is, was it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it to them. They got, like you said, they got all those trophies. It's got to be worth it, right? Nobody can do that, though. It's not a plan that's an easy one to anybody to follow. I mean, the
No,
man
I,
left the man left the team in what, almost £1 billion of debt, right? Because he was happy to just pay it off later. But nobody's doing that. Nobody's doing that. That's not a plan that any even even Newcastle's in the cities are doing. They're not doing that.
but for teams like us, we have all that debt and we take loans against it, and that's why City was kind of contesting with all their charges, is because they're not starting off with debt.
Because they found another way to circumvent the system.
They have their oil company run by a nation state.
I mean, the whole problem, all the charges are from what? I mean, they're from revenue that everybody says isn't truthful, isn't legit.
They cook the books,
right? I mean, that's what people are saying. That's the whole point. That's the reason why they're going through that. And they're saying, nah, those are legitimate revenue streams that we're building up there. And people are going, wait a second, you're saying that your revenue stream is comparable to Manchester United, and you've done absolutely nothing to get to that point at that point in time. It's like, it's not like they're like, that's my understanding of the charges. So that doesn't sound correct. Right, that was the whole Madoff thing, right? And one guy said the only way you can be making money is if you're perfect, and nobody's perfect in the market, right? And then it comes out what he's cooking the books eventually, right? So, like, that's my understanding of the City situation is that they're sitting on this. We legitimately made money through revenue streams that nobody in the world is able to do, not with a team that just coming back into the league the way they were. All right. Got Lonzo in the house. Welcome to the show. Yeah, Chelsea was left a huge debt. Yeah, no, I like I said, I kind of felt like the Chelsea model isn't something anybody can mimic. The City model isn't something people want to mimic because now they know they're going to get punished.
Gary, I think deep down inside, people want that model because
they want to be able to push more money in behind the scenes. But I kind of feel like that. Like now we're talking about football here. So is that good for football?
Probably not. So I mean, that's the thing. Like, where is the whole community? Like, do you know what I mean? Like what these football clubs were made of back in the day, what they represented. How do you maintain that fabric of the community and also spend, have the expectations to spend hundreds of millions of dollars every window on players and then still be able to be affordable for the common fan? Like, I don't know if that's realistic unless you are owned by an oil nation or a government or a Russian mobster. Like, I just don't think that's realistic.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get pushing money into a club because you got tons of money. I just don't think that's what 5% of football can do that. Maybe 5%, probably even less than that, right? Because we're talking about what, maybe 2 teams in the Premier League at this point can afford to do something like that. And how many teams are in English football? Right,
92 on the pyramid, and then not including the non-league.
So I mean, it's it's definitely less than 10% can actually afford to do something like that. So it's not a I don't think it's a plan that anybody can actually can actually mimic and implement. Yeah.
That comment right there is 100% accurate. The scary thing is if City get their way, Newcastle will destroy us.
And it would make a lot of sense, right? If City's gonna, like, this is where the league is, like, looking at City, not thinking about what happened if Newcastle decides, hey, you're saying that they didn't do anything wrong? Well, damn it, I know Newcastle probably got a bigger history than City did when they got all this money. You know what I mean? So there'd be no reason for them not to get into some revenue streams that can contribute a lot of money to the squad. Next thing you know, Isak's not going anywhere. Next thing you know, they can go buy whoever they want that might want to go to go play for Newcastle, right?
There's a big difference between 24 million and 400 billion. I mean,
So what's your? I don't know what are you
24
saying?
billion, and I'm saying City is worth 24 billion.
What's the
But
difference? If they're allowing
here,
it to happen, it doesn't matter. They don't. That means they don't even have to spend as much as they're worth, right? You're telling me that a team that's worth 20% that can take 20% and not drop an eye, not blink, could do what City did, and come on. No, I think it's important that the league, if they really and truly understand this football thing and want to, be, there had to be some semblance of rules to follow. So does City not break any rules? Nothing. Like City didn't even want to contribute any of the information because they said it was legit anyways. Now you think they turn around and go, "Oh, it was legit," but they wouldn't provide those details before? Why wouldn't they produce the information if they thought it was legit? You know what I mean? It's like Spencer, put your hands up, and he's like, "No, I'm not putting my hands up. No, put your hands where I can see." No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to be suspicious, right? Something about why I can't see your hands, so I don't know what you're about to do. Right? We see it all the time. This is the same thing, right? If there's where there's smoke, I think there's stuff going on. So yeah, no, so there's always, and you know what? There's always somebody bigger than you. There's always somebody bigger than you, because then what happens is, right, the next big billionaire or trillionaire, who decides, look, I can get involved in this and drop a couple of billions here and there, and be sitting there winning all these trophies and whatnot, because I can pay more than everybody else. It's not good for football.
But the same owners of Newcastle are the ones that started the trend last year that Vasali Fund owns 4 of the Saudi League teams. So those 4 teams have an endless supply of money, and that's why all the players from Europe were flocking there for the high wages and the high track signing ons and everything, because it makes the agents happy. It probably doesn't make the players happy for too long because they're playing in the shit league that only has 4 decent teams, all owned by the Saudi fund, just like Newcastle is, which Newcastle is equal to. They have 80% of the wealth of the entire league. 80%. And that's why I mentioned them being 24 million. I mean, you have a chronic, each one of them worth 10 to 12 million. So to me, he almost equal money between us and City. And
equal
the way
money between who's us and City?
Arsenal.
Did you see where we sit on the revenue stream, whatever? It's not that equal. Do you see their revenue stream? How much money they bring in? That's not equal. They're almost double what Arsenal make in revenue. That's not equal. Nah, Tony, you're looking. You're saying it's almost equal, but it's not equal. They're saying that they make more revenue than Arsenal, and you're going to tell me Arsenal is a bigger draw. And the numbers say differently. The numbers say City is twice as big as Arsenal is in terms of the revenue stream that they can command in the system in the system there.
Yeah, but our Arsenal's built around debt.
Their revenue stream has nothing to do with debt. What are you talking about? The money that they're bringing has nothing to do with debt. What are you talking about?
But I'm saying Arsenal has all this debt. You still have a debt on a stadium that was built 19 years ago.
That's how most teams. You think every team just pays off their income one way that way? Who does that?
I would imagine at this point most of
Some
Spurs
teams got their
stadium.
stadiums for free.
Mm,
I mean,
but
I you're barking up the wrong tree, buddy. Nobody just pays
yeah,
off their stadium in 10 years. Nobody does that.
yeah,
They
they
don't
do
take
because
out
they
20, 30-year loans on their stadiums. Nobody's buying it off like that. They're not, because it
I,
actually financially it makes no sense sometimes. All right?
I guarantee you that Spurs have paid off more of their stadium than Arsenal had through
Yeah,
5
they
years
make,
or
how much
whatever
money
it's
do they
been.
make outside of football? A lot more. All right? What is it? This is that Deloitte Touche thing
Well,
that's going
here's
around,
the
right?
thing, though.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal's like 7th, but I mean, no. So I mean, even for and that's what Arsenal's also talking about. Like Arsenal's debt will be paid off until 2031. It still owes it, but I imagine if they add on to the stadium, that the purpose of that is 100% to. I mean, that's what rich people do. They leverage debt against debt. That's what they do. Like Kroenke's a real estate guy. You know, most of his money's in real estate, so they're going to leverage debt against debt. So
But isn't that where City has a point though that saying we don't have the debt, so why should the teams with debt be getting the debt excused where it
Because the
doesn't
teams
count
with that
against
are
them?
actually probably doing it closer to what the rules have been set up. The teams without the debt, why they're in court? They're in court because people don't believe that the numbers that they're providing are actually legit. All right, that's what's going on. So unless you tell me what they're doing is legit, then yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at it here. The commercial revenue that City brought in is 407 million. Arsenal 258. It's a lot of money coming in for commercial revenue,
yeah,
right?
a lot of money.
I mean, I mean, and and Arsenal's, their revenue's gone up almost 100 over the last 5 years, whereas Cities has gone up from 285 to 407. So like last 5 years, City is still like been way better than Arsenal. We're talking, there's not even on the same level. They've been 100 mil more than Arsenal over the last 4 years, last 5 years. All right, in terms of the money they bring in just for their commercial revenue. The broadcasting is pretty much the same, but
Hey Gary,
when
do you want to present this chart so everybody can see it?
I found this. I haven't found the big one that has all of them all in one.
Because I might be
So
able to do it. I'm on it right now if you want me
if
to.
you
That
have
way,
the chart, I'm on there with the Deloitte page, but it just has them broken. It splits it up
let's see if
by
we can do it.
by team, so I can't see like all the teams all in one big chart. That's the problem I have.
You see it now?
Yeah. So
You can present that if you want,
So I'll bring this up here.
and I can.
Yeah, zoom in,
Yeah, I
so
got
we
you.
get a full screen if you can.
So let me zoom in. Give me a second here. Zoom. Yeah, you got there.
Yeah, let's go big because we want to just see really the top up to Arsenal. Or I guess that's a good number.
On this list. They've
So
gone up 3.
yeah. So you look at the commercial value. City is sitting right there between PSG and Real Madrid, and this is pretty much all in the last 5 years they've brought in there. Are you telling me City 6 years ago you could see them being right there competing with Real Madrid for commercial revenue?
Yeah, probably so because they
5 years.
won.
So you're telling me 6 years ago you would have said, I see City as a competitor to Real Madrid for commercial revenue. You really and truly are saying that with a straight face.
When they've won 6 of the last
They hadn't
7
won
Premier
six
League?
6 years ago.
Yeah. One
You're
or
talking about.
two.
I'm not talking about what they're doing today. I'm telling you, 6 years ago, the numbers they were bringing in were in the 250s, 280s. Yeah,
I could still see it because they've been
you
super
can see it
competitive.
6 years ago.
Yes, I could. Very.
How would you? What did you see 6 years ago that led you to believe that City would be as big as Real Madrid? What did you see 6 years ago from City that would lead you to believe that, guess what, they would be up there competing Real Madrid for revenue on a commercial basis?
They're near the top of the league or top of the league.
For what,
That
1 year,
team-
2 years? You can't tell me because it's not that. That's not how it works, Tony. It's not how it works. You don't just you just your revenue doesn't grow like that. If we're talking about it grows organically for Real Madrid, but City has found the magic elixir and they can just catch up that quickly. All right.
So can you look at Real Madrid's numbers here? 200. I think this is 240.
247 for their match day revenue.
247 million, I believe, right here. So 316 million for broadcast. Their commercial revenue is 481 million. I think this is accurate. I'm probably right on that.
Yeah.
So here's the thing about Cities. I think Cities commercial is super inflated. Because how many people want to buy City gear? To me, that's where I just see.
Look how much they make on match revenue. The lowest of
88,000.
the lowest of the top 9 by
88 million. There you go. My bad.
by was it 15 mil. Barcelona, who I would say has a bigger name than City.
Well, what was Real Madrid again?
247 mil in revenue.
How does that happen when for 3 years you weren't playing in your stadium? You were playing in another stadium in Madrid.
So here's the thing. Now I don't have 2024's data in front of us. We got 2025, so the stadium's there. But you'd have to go back and look at. You'd have to do like a full analysis of the last 10 years to kind of see what the trends are. The broadcast obviously makes sense because City made a run in the Champions League, so they were probably there towards the end. They made a run in the FA Cup, so they probably had different match day windows where they can make revenue from it. I mean, a lot of this stuff's probably inflated and just bogus money. Like, I think match day revenue is proper. But again, Arsenal is talking about expanding the stadium, and the mentality about expanding the stadium is all of a sudden that match day revenue now becomes 200 million a year, right? If they add, but because you could probably, they're not gonna build a new stadium anytime soon for the Emirates. Like that's done. But the reality is, like, you could probably add 15,000 more seats, make it a little bit higher, and you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you could probably bring in more match day revenue, which all of a sudden now pushes you closer to PSG level, right? Maybe get a better commercial deal. Like, that could be all about sponsorships and stuff like that. I mean, Brenny made a good point here, and I think me and Sam have said this on the side. We sell merchandise constantly. How many times does Adidas give us some new crap for us to wear? Like, it's constant.
Oh,
It's always looking for money.
Well, that's part of their sponsorship deal. I mean, every year you're gonna get about
here we go. So
four or five releases.
I'll tell you this: in 2021, I assume when their stadium was not theirs or whatever,
correct,
they made 9 million in revenue from match day. All right. So with the new stadium, they've gone from what is 108 the season in 2020. And in 2023 it was 122 to now 248, so they like doubled basically. And
yeah.
I think you're saying 247, so that's so.
And think about it from this perspective too, Gary. How many people do we know, and I'm sure people in this chat room apply to this as well, that are like, I couldn't win a ballot to get in the game, right? So if you can't win these ballots for the Arsenal tickets, why renew your season membership? So all of a sudden, hey, we expand the stadium 20,000. I'm sure it can be done. Engineers can figure it out. All of a sudden, the people that are missing ballots now have it. That's another person there that's buying like that. That's an investment debt right there. So then that probably to expand the stadium probably costs $200 or $300 million. So that would they'd have to mortgage that. And let's not forget the Kroenke spent $5 billion on the big. They had massive cost overruns over there with the Ram stadium. So, but they also share the stadium with the Chargers. So I think the Chargers pay them. So that's a different story and a different topic. But this is all about trying to compete, right? We talked about
and the
competing.
NFL pays them for having their offices.
Yeah.
Right. So this is about trying to compete. And
yeah, I mean, just looking at here, like in 2024, Real Madrid's wages were pretty much 50% of their revenue.
But
Whereas, go ahead.
But Spencer, do you really believe that a couple of rainstorms can turn a $2 billion stadium, which all the workers ended up calling a $6 billion stadium? I mean, that's a lot of. That's triple what it was.
Are you talking about NFL? Is that what you're talking about?
I can tell you
I'm talking about the Ram Stadium. It cost them.
Yeah, but what does that have to do with this? There's not, the logistics of that are so different, right?
Spencer just mentioned the stadium, so I was commenting.
No, I'm just trying to see why.
I don't know why it overran. I don't follow them.
But that's a huge overage.
They had some issues with, I think, the ground in general, whether it was going to be able to support the weight of the structure. There were some engineering issues that created cost overruns. I know they had some rainstorms that had issues with stuff and things got delayed, but overall, I mean, but think about it from that perspective too. Like, I mean, that money helps out all of KSE, if we're honest. I know the Avs just traded Mikko Rantanen away, but that was a salary cap issue, not an inability to pay him what he wanted yearly. But I mean, if we're gonna go get these 100 million pound strikers, this is where, I mean, maybe the commercial one makes me question, right? Because as much gear as we release, you figure that number would be a little bit higher.
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about competing with the Real Madrids. So are we like that? Are we competing? We'll keep talking about, competing with Manchester United, right? We're not at those levels.
I mean,
the fact that City is better than Manchester United is why people are like, the numbers don't make any sense. Are you telling me everything that United has done over the last, 60, 70 years can just be caught in less than 10?
Well, what's missing here on United's, they're not in Champions League. So there's that aspect from their numbers, which probably if they were in Champions League, they'd probably be close to number 2.
No, but but we're also talking about like the revenue that you built. You're saying that you just go and you win it one time in 10 years, you can jump and be better than United. I mean, that's what we're talking about, right?
Are we talking about City being better or Arsenal being better?
We're talking about the fact that City has jumped. I think my whole thing is how is City sitting up there.
It's got to be that commercial, Gary. I don't know how proper. Yeah. Like we don't know. So like if who's on the shirt? Is it Emirates? I believe for their shirt.
Yeah.
We don't know.
No, the thing is it legitimate? That's the problem.
We don't know. We really don't.
But
let's be fair here. We don't even know if our club's is legitimate.
Yeah. Well, if we're cheating and we're that far back, then we're cheating badly. You know what I mean?
The one that catches my eye.
I mean, think about it. We are worse than that team, worse than Chelsea. So if we're saying that, we're also cheating, but we're when it comes down to commercial revenue, we're sitting pretty much closer to the top 10 than we are to the top 5. Then yeah, kind of feel like if you're gonna cheat, you might as well do it right.
But Barcelona has, because they were basically bankrupt and they sold half their TV channel that they have, like half their commercials.
Is that TV money go into their commercial revenue? How does that work? Do we know? Or does that just pay off their debt?
And I think it probably mainly pays off their debt. That's why I'm trying to figure out why it's so high. It's that one definitely sticks out as being
As much money as
inflated.
Real Madrid has done by selling all these things, right? And you see these numbers, you're like, they're not taking a hit at all. They're making almost double what some of the top teams in the world are making just from the match day revenue.
Yeah, that's what caught my attention. That's like that screams, oh, you're cooking the books.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're saying the commercial revenues, one way Arsenal needs to do that is by going out there and getting the big players. Well, if we're saying we're not going to go out there and get an Isak, then yeah, we're not really going to go out there and get players that can drive the revenue up. If we're talking about those going one and the same, then that's how you do it. You go and get the big names, you bring them in, and they help with the revenue stream, right? Who doesn't want to see Isak on the back of the shirt, right? Go out there and maybe get a Gyökeres. That happens. Zubimendi will, to some degree, do it, but not as big as a Isak or Gyökeres in my eyes. All right, Sesko he's just a nice to have. He might grow into an Isak, but is that 1 year from now? Is that 3 years from now? 5 years from now?
If you're gonna go make the move for Isak, and I'm talking summertime.
No, like right now, I think
anyway.
they should. I mean, right now, I would like just go get Sesko and at least get another a legitimate player that can come in and contribute. And if Isak is still somebody you want to get, you can go out and get him. And yeah, it sounds silly to have Isak and Sesko on your squad, but when you've got Haaland and Alvarez on your squad, people like when that was crazy, and it was crazy, and they eventually fixed it, right? But it got them where they wanted to be. Arsenal should do that because Sesko will be resellable, right? Gyökeres maybe not. If you get Gyökeres and he said, "Oh, I'm gonna go crazy and get," you probably can't even do the Isak deal at that point. But the Sesko deal you can, but if you don't get Sesko now, and you're not going to get him ever, right?
But doesn't it make it harder that we're not going to have a football director, and all these talks start 3-4 months before the season's over, so we're not going to have the people in place.
I think if you're going for an Isak, you've already had enough discussions. You don't need a director to get that across the line. I don't think that's why we're not going to get an Isak. Are we going to want to spend the 140? I think that's going to be more the question. It has nothing to do with the director of football.
So the wage bill, I was doing a look over here. If you want to do it, share a different screen if you don't mind.
Put it up.
I think I got to stop it and then present, share screen, and then it's just the wage bill one. Here you go. So yeah, it's up there. So you can see.
Just correct, the Rams and the Chargers, they are in different stadiums now, or they don't share, right?
They do share.
Oh, they do share. Okay.
Yeah, so that was part of the deal coming in. Like, I don't know what the Chargers pay the Rams. I really don't. I don't think it's much. I really don't.
It's enough to make it worth
Chargers are super poor franchise. Like, they're just the Spanos family is not very wealthy. I mean, they're wealthy as far as like, they're not poor, but as far as like NFL owners, like, yeah, because that's why they left San Diego, because they didn't want to build a new stadium. They wanted the city to fund most of it. Just a pathetic franchise. Charger going to Charger. I'm never going to banter the Chargers and not joke on them. But you can see the wage bill here. Cities is at 224, and I wonder how much of Holland that is. This is via Capology.
That's not even next year when it will be a lot more, right? Because we're talking about at least, I think, tripling what he's making. So,
I mean, you're looking here, like, so United's at almost 190. Chelsea at 174. Arsenal at 172. Liverpool right here is 128. And you probably want to talk about wins per wage. Like Liverpool, I don't know how they do it. And then Villa is up there at 6, and then Newcastle right here. But see what hampers Newcastle, like we were showing earlier on their other page, is the amount of money they break in. Like I don't even think on that revenue thing, they were 15th on the list, and they bring in 371 million a year or whatever it is. So like that's the other problem with the Saudis. Like they don't have a brand that's pushing out numbers like Man City can do right now. So yeah, if you bring in a top striker now, you're looking at
just think about it. Arsenal is paying about 30 on Kai Havertz and Jesus in terms of salary and bonus.
Oh, you're talking about combined, all three?
Yeah. So
yes,
that's just,
yes.
Yeah.
Jesus is highly inflated at 263 a week. It's a lot.
Yeah.
For what we're getting.
Yeah, and let's see here. Erdegaard, Rice, and Partey are about 35. If you add it all up, what they're paying. I mean, so it's not that much. Saka is, also making about 10 mil a year. But his bonus is about I don't know if the bonus is added on top of that, but his bonus says 5 mil, so I'm not sure how that gets paid, if that's part of the salary or not. I assume it's different, right?
It would end up under salary and just winners, but
well, I'm just saying he has a bonus of, it says per year, so it says 5 mil. So I'm assuming that's what he got paid when he signed. So he's made about 15 mil this year. Yeah, I don't think the salary and the I mean, the bonus will be spread out over the year, but that's what he
So Jesus has got 3 years remaining on his deal. His deal ends in this is obviously it's 2.5, June 30th, 2027.
Mm-hmm.
The problem also with that, what happens with the injury? Can he come back to normal?
Yeah, he won't be back until a year, with almost a year left, with just under a year, just over a year left on his contract. So
and they may have to injury settlement, move on from him type deal. So I know it sucks. And then Partey, he's on $200K a week. His is going to fall off probably.
That's why, if that's the case, then go get the young fella. You right?
We're paying 162 right now for Sterling.
Yeah, and that's a discount, right?
God knows what.
Like we could have taken that 8 mil and used it to get a player that we could actually work with.
So I mean, you could get a guy like Isak, and you could pay him 362 a week or whatever it is. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen in this window. I just think it's a lot harder than people think it is.
I don't think it's hard. It's where you decide you want to assign risk. Do you think it's too risky to put the because I think it's a monetary, it's a shuffling of the monies. Like they can go out and just they can put down a full amount. They don't want to do that because of course that lowers what they can do in the summer. But they want to eat their cake, have their cake and eat it too, right? I mean, nobody's going to give you those nice installments that they want. That's the thing. So you want to pay a little bit extra, but then you want them to also go, we'll take the nice installment.
Well, that was the whole deal with the West Ham deal, right, Gary? It was all basically about how it was going to be amortized over 5 years.
Yeah.
How much West Ham wanted per year.
And they wanted it done in 3 years, and that's what they got. So eventually they just buckled anyway. So, in a 3-year period, like they make 4 payments and it's over.
Like Sesko for $62 million could probably happen. But RB Leipzig is probably like, we want that over 2 years.
Exactly.
Which makes it a little more difficult because it's all about that PSR rules and writing stuff off. And I know that's supposed to change in the future, but it is an interesting dynamic. Did you want to talk about how horrible Michael Oliver was on Saturday? I know I got
Mr.
myself.
Tom's probably asleep now. He said he didn't want to hear anything about referees. But I don't mind talking about the referees.
No, I
don't think we wait so long. We basically have a set number in mind, and we don't even start. We put a bid out. We know, and 9 times out of 10, we know nobody's even gonna go. Yeah, that's right. That's a good one. We'll start there. So it's never even a. It's not even a good. Like for me, you put a bid in. The next bid should be all right. Let's go. Arsenal puts their first bid in to see if they're interested in selling the player. It's like, nah, don't do that. Then they should blink a couple of times to make sure the numbers are right. And then if the numbers aren't right, then you just perk it up a little bit and you're done. Like going back 3 and 4 times, I think is where Arsenal goes wrong. You spend all this time figuring out how to get players, and then you spend so long trying to get the numbers the way you want. And I just feel like, you know what? We waste money in other places. Did we need Calafiori? Did we need Moreno? Could we just bought Sesko? Could we just bought Gyökeres with those monies? Right, we spent about 50 mil on those players, right? In transfer fees, right? And we could have, and like for another 30, you could have got Gyökeres, right? For less than that, you could definitely got Sesko. You didn't want to give him the benefit of the doubt that he would play for you, which I find ridiculous.
Which one's better, Skelly or Calafiori? I would say Skelly's the better player already.
They didn't know that going into the season, or if they did, then yeah, Calafiori don't make any sense. But Calafiori is a center back, so if they really and truly brought him in to be a center back, I think the problem is if they brought Calafiori in to be a center back, then he should play center back, and he should play center back. And guess what? He probably should play center back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but when you
our center backs should not play 99% of the minutes in the Premier League football.
You had both Saliba injuries, and Calafiori did not play center back in those games.
Well, that's because and I think that's because you don't start from like the same way in Wary didn't do anything when I thought he should have been getting minutes, and then when Erdegaard goes out, they don't want to use him because he hasn't established the confidence. Well, he's not going to establish the confidence when you wait until there's an injury. That's why you got to bring him in sooner, especially you're going to spend all that money on him, right? He's supposed to be a long-term answer for you somewhere on the pitch, right? Some people were saying you bring Calafiori in, maybe Saliba leaves and you don't lose much. You don't know, but not the way you're working him out. But well, let's get into this referee thing. There's a cynical foul. Was he late? Yes. Was it on purpose? Yes. Does everybody in football know what he's doing? Yes. Was it a legit red card? One person I know thinks yes. He's on this panel.
Wonder who that could be.
So, Spencer, was that a red card?
Absolutely not.
Tony, was that a red card?
Yes, because it was a dangerous play.
Where's the dangerous play? I'm asking you again. What did you see that was dangerous play?
With high spikes would be the reason.
You saw the spikes. Did spikes hit anybody?
Yep.
The spikes actually touched the player?
Yep.
They didn't touch him. When did you see them touch the player? Because I saw when Gomez put his foot straight down on one of our defensive players' foot. I didn't see the spikes there, but he definitely went down on a player late and more maliciously and more intently than Skelly did. You didn't see Studs hit anybody, Tony, because nobody did. You saw Studs, but you didn't see them. They didn't injure anybody.
They don't have to by the rules, Gary.
And does that mean it's a red? Every time the studs come up, it's a red, Tony? Because we've seen a player take studs to the chest, and that's not even a foul.
Supposed to be.
Nobody's seen that foul again, and nobody will see it. This is the same thing we've seen with most of Arsenal's red, yellow cards. We never see it again. Gomez kicks the ball with the whistles blown, boots it, off the pitch. Nothing given. Same referee who gave Trossard a yellow when he blew the whistle, and Trossard supposedly delayed game.
Less time in between them too, actually.
Same official, Tony. And you're telling me there's consistency there, right?
I say they're not consistent. That's your
The
problem.
same referee in the same game.
That's what I've always said. Consistency is a problem, Gary.
Yeah, but that's why it's not a red, because it's never been given a red. You've never seen that given as a red.
Yes, I have, Gary.
You've never seen that given. When's the last time you've seen a cynical foul like that, where a player is on a break and he gets brought down, that a red card has been given? Give me the example. I'll go look it up.
Gary, I've been watching Arsenal for.
Tell me the last time you saw a red card given or a cynical foul like that. You've never seen it, Tony. You can't give me an example. You can't even tell me the year. You can't even tell me the team. You just saw it. That's the last time you saw it. The only time you've probably seen it.
No.
Go on. Give me an example. When?
I can't remember, Gary.
You remember everything for anytime I ask you a question, you'll tell me the history down to the last 10 years. But now all of a sudden I ask you a question, I don't remember. That's a coincidence, isn't it?
I don't remember everything, Gary.
Oh, I don't remember everything. All right. So when you're bringing up all your history nonsense, you're just guessing, yeah?
No, it's stuff that I remember from watching Arsenal.
No, but you don't remember that red. You would remember a red card given for a cynical foul, because it would have been something you hadn't seen before.
It's in the rule book, Gary. You're going to see it. Whether if the refs
Not one person on the face of this earth said that was a red, Tony. You're the only one that I've
Well, Michael Oliver did technically, but we kind of saw that one coming.
Even Dermot Gallagher said that was a yellow, and we know where he usually stands with the referees.
I want to say this though. I know I'm not letting Tony off the hook here on this one, but my whole thing, like the PGML statement, referees get abuse every weekend. Probably walking off the pitch to get a lot of abuse and everything. And we all know this. So obviously, we got to say abuse or online abuse in any form is not acceptable. Good statement done. I feel like it's a deflection.
Well, no, they definitely don't want. They definitely want that to be more the narrative than the fact that the referee didn't do his job.
They know how sensitive people are to stuff like that.
No, nobody believes that he should be able to. He shouldn't get any of that, and that should not be brought down on him. None of it.
Yeah.
Now, how he performs on the pitch, that's open for discussion by everybody and anybody, and that's what we're talking about here, right? The Kai Havertz situation. His play is poor. We're going to go after him. Has nothing to do with anybody he's related to.
Yep.
Nothing to do with any of that.
And even with that, we're not going to sit there and try to wish him ill will. It's just like
no. You got to do better, man. We're going to have to let you go. That's kind of my thinking, and I don't think our team is even thinking that. So yeah.
But don't you think, Gary, they should implement like college basketball where you have to be like 90% accurate?
I wish they had a rule like that, or at least this is where the accountability comes in. If referees aren't making the necessary calls or missing calls, right? Because that's where that 90% comes, right? I know, I did refereeing, and I talked to some of those referees that do the college games, right? After every game, they get a scored card, basically where they stand, percentage of calls missed, percentage of calls wrong, all right? And as you said, they got to be in the high 90 percentile to get into the tournament. All right. They look at every game. As soon as the game's done, they get a scorecard. Nobody's watching the Premier League matches to figure out these referees are even calling the calls right the first time or missing them. And if they're missing them, some of that could be positioning, some of that could be not listening to your side judge. And the fact that you have VAR now to catch some of that means the VAR is not working either. All right. I mean, there's ways to get to that 90%. They're not using VAR to get there. VAR's not.
I think one thing they could have did that they're gonna stick with is having but 2 referees on the pitch. That way, you have pretty much guaranteed views of most calls.
Can you do that in a football match? I don't know if you can do that on a football match.
They were testing it in like the Cannibal Cup and some other.
They get in the way as it is
cups.
now. The one ref gets in the way as it is now. They actually had to put a rule in, right? When it touches him, the ball's dead, right? Because it happens enough. Like for him to actually be in those positions, right? He's going to be in the middle of the pitch where players going to come through him. Sometimes he just stops, right, and lets a play happen around him because he doesn't want to get involved. So I don't believe 2 referees is going to work. That's going to take a while to implement. Because of positioning and stuff, you need to be the way that it works in basketball, right? With the way the referees are set up, you've got you got to be able to see and the entire pitch as a set of referees. So you got to be positioned in certain positions. Like there'll be somebody on the goal line, there'll be somebody midway on the weak side, somebody high on the strong side in terms of where the ball is. Right, and that way you can cover all of the ground. You can see pretty much everything from most angles. Right, it's just it'd be a totally different thing. I mean, you've got 3 referees now. All right, now you need another referee. You're not going to catch everything there either because you're not going to catch everything. So I hear what you're saying. I just don't, and the linesmen actually have some say into certain calls. They get overridden sometimes, which I guess is all right, but they can make foul calls as well, right? Can they make legitimate yellow card calls? I'm not sure.
Yeah, they let them make yellows.
Yeah. And the social media, if he's getting death threats, he's getting death threats either through his family or whatever. So I don't think they're lying in that sense because we know it can happen.
So I think if there's threats, it was something that was said somebody's leaving the stadium.
Yeah.
That's my gut feeling.
But it says social media. It doesn't say face to face.
The statement said abuse. Never mentioned online abuse.
Yeah.
So that's where there's a little bit of. But again, I just don't trust powers that be. I don't trust. I live in the U.S. All right, we all live in the U.S. Our government and media lie to us constantly. Yeah. So why wouldn't the PGML do the same thing to protect face?
Yeah. No, I mean yeah.
And we don't need to do statements saying all 3 of us here know online abuse is horrible. We'll never do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, the other part to it is you look at the Arsenal gets more reds from supposedly this is the best. He's supposed to be the best referee in the league, right? So everybody defers to him. So if that's the case, and he's given Arsenal 8, then we should probably be getting lots more reds from a lot of these other referees if they're following suit to what he's doing. All right. We get more fouls than any team that he manages and coaches, or we'll get high number. Let's just say that.
I would get rid of the people running the system.
VAR should be run by a totally a separate
Correct.
group altogether, and it should, and they should be able. It's not meant to override; it's meant to correct the mistakes. That's the whole point, right?
I still think they should go back to amateur referees, because this is the only sport I know that I can name 80% of the referees.
Yeah, I think the PGMOL wants it that way, and that's where the FA, English football, need to step in and go. And it's not about you, man.
Just remember this for the NFL, though. There's 2 ways that it calls after replay is done. The call on the field stands and the call is confirmed. So call on the field stand means there's not enough evidence to overturn it. Call is confirmed means they're confirming the call. Just remember that. We see bad calls in the NFL all weekend. We saw one yesterday. But, I mean, it doesn't make it acceptable. But I think the problem is, even the NFL had replay. But the problem with yesterday, and this is the thing I want to bring up, that 4th and 1 where Allen was short. They said call on the field stands. It means they had not enough evidence to overturn it.
Nobody could see that. There's too many bodies to look through.
Yeah.
Right. They don't put the chip in the ball. You can't tell where the ball is. Right. So, and you don't know, and you don't even know the ball is on what angle it's sitting on to make it worth, to know where it is. So, it's a judgment call by the officials. One official says it was just near the line. The other one says it was off the line.
The one I don't get, the one Oliver decision I'll never understand. I still sit and I laugh at it when I saw it, and I thought it was the dumbest thing when I ever saw it. Was when Martinelli got 2 yellow cards in like 11 seconds. I've never seen that, and I don't think we've seen it since.
Yeah. So that was Tony. Was that legitimate? Getting 2 yellows in 10 seconds.
One was from on the play, and the other was.
So you think it's okay you think it's okay to get 2 yellows?
Call.
You think it's okay to get 2 yellows in one segment of play?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You're making no sense.
If you commit the foul, then you sit there and argue about the foul.
Nobody sat there and argued about the foul. He went and continued playing because he didn't know he had a yellow.
Yeah, they played advantage. Yeah.
Right. So yeah. Most of the time, you just get the 1 yellow. You don't get the 2.
Was that the same game where Leno decided to be a complete moron and touch the ball outside the box?
I think we lost. Yeah.
We were down to 9.
Yeah. That was yeah.
I don't mean to laugh at that. I'll never forget Leno. That was like I touched the ball.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, like I said, I mean, all the referees are terrible. There needs to be accountability in the game. There isn't any accountability in the game. They want the players to do it. They want the managers to do it, but they don't want the officials to do it.
What was it, Gary? 2 years ago, it was probably March or something like that, where they said they were going to start reviewing the ref calls and start reviewing the VAR, but nothing ever came out of that.
Because you know why? I have no doubt they realized, wow. I mean, well, think about it. In the 2 years, and they didn't even put the lines down. They're not even following their own rules. So I mean, when that's happening, there is no way, they're doing what they need to do. Referees, has an issue with cocaine. There's something going on. The system is what they call it, losing institutional control.
Yep.
That's basically what it looks like. All right. Your top official is giving more red cards to one team than in others. Inappropriately doesn't make any sense. And not all the calls are ones that people are like. Yeah, because they're not consistent. So if your top referee is giving second yellows, then why isn't he giving second yellows in every game? Because he's supposed to be the best, right? He didn't give a yellow. He didn't give a second yellow for a delay of game. He didn't get a straight red for a tackle on the on the other side of the pitch, right?
I mean that Gomez second one. I mean, if Skelly's is a red, then for certain Gomez was a red, and how Oliver missed that one makes no sense. That's the problem. Also, like we see those stomps constantly in the Premier League. Like obviously, there's a difference between stomping the foot and stomping the ankle, right? But to me, it was just a trip. He didn't get all the studs on him. I don't see it. I was shocked when I saw it. I thought VAR was going to overturn it, and then Darren England had it for like 4 seconds, and I was like, "Yeah, it's good, man."
Yeah, and that's the thing.
I want to hear the audio.
We watched them. We watched them. Spend like minutes, it seems, on reviewing certain calls, but that one, they could do it really fast, right? I mean, we see it all the time. Arsenal will score a goal, and we're like, "That's legit," and they'll spend like 2.5 minutes trying to figure out why it's not right. And you're like, huh? You're going to do that for this, but for a straight red, you're going to go, "Nah, it's good. You did all right."
I think you should have to go straight to the monitor on all red card offenses. You're going to get 3 looks, 3 in slow time, and then 3 at pace. And if you want to defend it and say it's good, then I mean, I'll be fair with you. I really mean this when I say this. If Oliver had gone to the monitor and says, "I still see a red," I can accept that. I don't like that.
And you know what it is, but then when later in the game, when you see the same thing, you're like, "How does that not a red?" You're like, you're not consistent in your process, my man.
I mean, the Kovacic one last year on Odegaard was blatant.
Well, he said he didn't do that because he didn't want to break up the flow of a good game.
Yeah.
Well, guess what this was? It was a good game.
He had no issue doing it earlier this season when Trossard kicked the ball away. Again, Trossard being a little hothead in that game at that point, but at the same time, he had no issue impacting that game there.
You think Gomez was he was all right? He wasn't hot-headed when
Gomez was wild all game. I was waiting for him to get sent off.
So for me, it's like, nah.
We're also talking Wolves.
You know what? It shouldn't matter. That's the problem.
I agree with you.
If it matters, then what's the point of, like, that means you don't play with you don't play the bottom 6 anymore, because guess what? They're going to get refereed differently. And if you referee the bottom 6 different than the top 6, then guess what? You're asking for problems. Right? That's the whole accountability, right? They're playing Everton. Everton is expecting to get a handball on City. It doesn't come for whatever reason, right? And they go on and they draw the game or whatever, or lose the game, and you're like, huh? Right?
But
everybody saw the handball, right?
Gary, on that Wolves game, you could have easily called 5 or 6 yellows on him.
And you're going to tell me that the straight red is legit. That's the part I don't get.
Because it's a dangerous play, because you're leading with your
2
spikes.
elbows to the head from Guimaraes were not considered dangerous play ever. No fouls given. 2 elbows to heads of Arsenal players. And you're going to tell me that what Skelly did was more malicious, and I'm telling you, it's not.
I'm telling you, the referee and the
you're going to tell me
they're inconsistent, Gary.
That's why I'm saying, well, if they can, like, be the same way both ways, right? But no, they know exactly what they're doing, right? They know exactly what they're doing. They're ignoring they're ignoring their calls. And I think that's the problem. That's why they should either get more training or whatever.
And another thing, Gary, we're almost 6 months past the start of the season, and they still don't have their offside set up with their.
I don't like changing rules in the middle of the season. So I'm actually happy. I'm happy they're not implementing a new change, because I'm like, so you're just telling me the other like you can't say you're on an even field if you're changing the processes and the way you implement the rules midway through the season. I don't see how that's legit either. I think that's bad for football, right? That's almost like saying, you know what, halfway through the season, kicking the ball away is okay now when it wasn't, in the first half of the season. I think that's silly. Either it is or it isn't, and you're consistent with it, right? You made that judgment call. Everybody's backing you up, so you continue to make that call. Nobody will do it again. I'm telling you, nobody would have done it again if they would have legitimately given a yellow in that Liverpool game after the Arsenal game, because they would have realized you can't do that. But guess what they did? They said, nah. So now everybody thinks the rules don't matter anymore. You're creating anarchy almost. I mean, I think that's it. And then that's why the game, and then you're like, well, Arsenal does it again and then gets penalized again, right? It don't make any sense, right? Right.
I,
Rice and
I,
Trustman didn't happen in back-to-back games. You know what I mean?
I, I think what this boils down to is Gary is how shitty we are at doing the throw-ins
What does that
because
have to?
we
That has nothing to do with where we're getting red.
be-
What are you talking
because
about?
you're sitting there wasting
What
time all the
we're
time.
talking about
So
straight reds. You're talking about throw-ins. You're not make a good correlation there. How does that? How did that correlate?
it's still inconsistency, Gary.
That has why does our inconsistency with throw-ins have anything to do with their officials' inconsistency with ruling a game? There's nothing. There's nothing related. We've hit 100 minutes, folks. It's probably time we go. Tony, say bye to people and give them whatever words you got.
Uh, there's more than sports. You shouldn't threaten somebody's life over sporting events. It should be fun and all this. That's why I don't like talking about the officiating so much because it's not like it's a change. Us sitting there complaining or whatever, nothing's gonna change because the Premier League's the good buddy system. They're gonna stick with that. I don't know what it will take. It would take a team suing the Premier League, which a team won't want to do that because guess what? If you sue a team or the refs, they're probably gonna ref you worse than they're refing you. Now, but anyway, there's a lot more to life. Just relax, take it easy, see what life gives you.
Cool. Words from Tony. Spencer?
Well, thanks everybody for coming by tonight. It was fun. Yeah, I think for me, like I was thinking about it as I was sitting here, I actually went and rewatched Martinelli's, and the first offense he tries to interfere with a throw in, and the second one he knocks the guy down from behind. So I don't know, it's kind of close. But then what you should have done if you're Oliver, you just do straight get red. I don't know, whatever. But I'd have to go back and look at the 8 ones, Gary, and I'm sure a couple of them are probably warranted red cards if we're honest with ourselves. Right? Not every single one of them is outrageous.
If I recall, one of the reds was the second yellow on Tomiyasu.
Yes.
And
I thought David Coote was doing that one.
Oh, is that? You know, I saw it in a collab of red cards that were given. I saw it was
you might be right. You might be right.
I mean, that's like I don't think any of the reds were like that blatant that you're like, okay, I get it. I think they all had a little bit of controversy with them, but you know what? Whatever. But I just think the numbers just doesn't make any sense. That's the problem.
Yeah. There is that, and the fact that City's never had a red card. I mean, you know, when Doko straight scissor kicked McAllister,
Kovacic should have gotten a red, right?
Yeah. So that's where, and again, I'll be fair with you on this. Like, if he had called, I don't think there's as much controversy if Kovacic gets sent off last year, or if Doko gets sent off for the McAllister kick. Maybe there's not that controversy. So again, like, I don't think it's completely I don't think it's 100% corrupt. I just think it's mostly incompetence, and there are conflicts of interest that need to be asked. Bare minimum on that. But for me, and I really believe this when I say this, if we were like in this country to say, hey, look, you're going to go to the monitor when there's a red card, or even a second yellow that results in a red card, go look at it. If you want to stand by your decision after you've seen it, by all means, go do it. Because it's a split-second decision, and you're relying on someone else's opinion of that, right?
And if you're going to review it anyways, then you know, let the person who's there reviewing it with you. And I think that's and that's the whole point. They slow down to wait to go and do the review, and it's like no, as soon as that person is going to review it, because guess what? It's a play that needs to be reviewed anyways. You should be there reviewing it with them. There's no reason, because they go through all of that process, and then they bring the referee in and do the same thing again. I'm like, nah, do it while everything's fresh.
Here's the other solution, Gary. Have it just like rugby union. You can hear the talk between the VAR and the referee. But the problem probably is you can't do that because half it'll be bleeped out because some player will be sitting here saying something to them. They don't have institutional control during the game either. That's the other issue. They're allowed to overswell the ref, and there's a lot of dark arts in football in general. So if we're really honest, the refs are poor, but also the players act poor at times by the dives they do, and it's kind of poor by the board. But the officiating has to be above ill reproach. And to me, and I really mean this, if Oliver goes over to the monitor and he says, "I see it as a red card. I see studs," that's what he said. I can live with that. Because at least bare minimum, I've heard your thought process. I understand the splits. That's the problem that I think for me I'd rather see, and I could accept that a little differently.
Yeah. The fact that McDermott
There you go.
said that he rigged his Achilles is the funny part, because if you see the cleats, they're on the front of the shin. So if he raked the Achilles, that would mean he would have had to bring his foot around and then come down the back of his leg, which we know didn't happen because he tripped him when he brought him down. He didn't catch him from the back, or else that would be easy a red card. That's not what happened.
I still think they should all go to the monitor first.
Now they should. You know what? VAR is there to produce the information. That's it. They shouldn't be contributing to any kind of. They're not refereeing the game. If they are, then all right, so be it. Then it can't be the same sets of referees. If they're going to produce the video, then I get it. But they can't be refereeing the game separately because they're not doing the same thing. All right. Or in our case, we know they're just not going to overturn somebody's decision. Right. There's a little bit of there's no accountability to actually do the job right.
I think the one thing I'm going to say, thank God we found a way to win the game. So at the end of the day,
yes,
have fun, Michael Oliver. Have fun, PGMO.
We've already said this, and I guess I'm going to say this before we head out of here, is we got to put our shots away.
Yeah.
We're going to have to overcome the officials and whatever else is going on, and it won't matter, right? If we score the 1 or 2 goals before that, it don't matter. That we lose a red, we're still going to be pissed, but we got a 2-goal lead, and that's why we want the better finishers in our team. As a Dallas Cowboy fan, Schottenheimer's son is now our head coach. 10 plus years as an assistant. He's supposed to get it. He's going to make it work. I listened to the press conference today, and you know what they brought up? He scored the first goal, the first touchdown for the Florida Gators on their national championship run. Not only did he bring it up, but also JJ brought it up. That's what they brought up for the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys when he, as a sub for the Florida Gators, was brought into a game because Spurrier likes to switch his quarterbacks when they piss him off, scored the first touchdown in the season. Did he score all the touchdowns after that? Probably not. But he scored the first one, so
feels like all the problems are solved, Gary. There you go.
This guy is he can score the first goal of the first touchdown for the season for you. Yeah, yeah. Everybody, thank you for joining us. It was I don't even know if we talked much about the game. We talked about lots of stuff. I think we had a lot of fun doing it. You guys had a lot of fun communicating with us on it. Tony brought us all of his nonsense. And Tony, let me finish what I got to say. You're done talking, actually. You're done talking. I gave you your say. Let me close up my show. Everybody, thanks for joining. We'll do this thing again next week. We will be talking about here we go. It's Citigroup week, right? It's Citigroup week. Girona, follow it up with City. We can go. We could beat City twice in a week. or we could struggle, As Spencer, I believe our defense is strong enough to give us the chance to win both our games, no matter how poor we are on the attacking side. Maybe our defense will score against City, and it won't matter what City does. I don't think their offense is that good to beat our defense.
Yeah.
That's where we are right now. I think they have brought in a lot of new attackers, so that will be, they will have a little bit of momentum to do well, especially at the Emirates. Marmouche actually looked pretty good in the game. He will take shots if you give it to him, so we have to be careful with that. I think Harlan was having a little bit of fun, Foden also. So we just need to, once again, welcome them to Arsenal. Saliba will be better than he was in the last game. I think he looked a little rusty. So and then
fullbacks are healthy, man. That's the
yeah,
problem. Fullbacks is healthy because you want Partey in that midfield.
Yeah, Calafiori and who plays right, and Timber are in there. No more no Skelly, but what? Hopefully they do put in the appeal.
They should.
I don't. Hopefully they don't just go. We'll just take it. No. You shouldn't take it. At least fight for your player, man. I don't think anybody. They fight for their player. At least they tried. I think they don't want to fight sometimes because they don't want to show up the league. Dude, you're getting screwed over by the league. But anyways, thanks for joining us. We'll do this thing again. I'll be back next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. I will be away this weekend, but I think the show will go on anyways. So on the weekend, check that out. And so I'll be away. So I don't even know I'll be on. I don't think I'll be on Arsenal Fan Circle on Thursday because I'll be traveling as well. So you guys enjoy yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you for joining. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe, the like, and all of that, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Life is a journey. Don't waste your trip.